Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the SR 288 Relocation Virtual Public Meeting. We're having this meeting tonight to discuss the 288 Relocation Project next to the Zelienople Airport. My name is Joe Newbert. I'm the project manager with Independence Excavating. We are the prime contractor on the project. We will be performing the work on site. Also here with us today are two representatives from PennDOT District 11, Elwood Baylog and Heather Kwasnica. Additionally, representative from the Zelienople Airport is joining us. His name is Dave Holman. They're the local project sponsor for this. The job's being done as a part of the expansion to the runway at the airport. So the topics of the meeting today are kind of as follows. I'm going to introduce our company a little bit so you know some more about us and our capabilities. Go into a little bit more detail where the project is located if people are not familiar. Some information about the project, why we're doing it and what we're doing. And the traffic control measures and detours that are going to be taking place while we're building the project. We're going to go into the schedule and anticipated impacts from the job, and finally we'll answer all of your questions that you have about the project. So a little bit of housekeeping before we get started here. You'll see a little question mark window at the top of your screen. If you click on that, you can send in questions to us. We're going to hold all the questions till the end and answer them all at once. Many of them will probably be covered in our presentation. We also ask that you keep it a little bit more focused on the construction portion of the project. That's why I'm here. That's what we kind of know, but any questions that are asked that are relevant, we'll do our best to get you an answer. Also, this presentation is being recorded and will be available on the PennDOT District 11 website, the same place that you joined this meeting where the link was found. It will be posted along with the full question and answers from this meeting once we're done here. So a little bit about us. Independence Excavating originally started in Cleveland, Ohio, close to 70 years ago. We've been working in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for going on 11 years now, and also have an office in Virginia. We have a lot of experience in the region on highway projects such as this one, ranging in value from $1 million to $95 million for both the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission and PennDOT District 11. Who we are working for now. We are a three-time winner of the Associated Pennsylvania Constructors Partnering Award, something I'm particularly proud of for jobs we've completed in the past, which is an award for contractors who work well with the owner and the public on the jobs they complete in the state. Fairly large company by revenue. We're ranked 15th nationwide in the excavation and foundation specialty subcontractor category. If you have any more questions or want to find out some more information about us, our website is listed here. So the overview project location is just to the north of the Zelienople Airport, just outside of Zelienople on State Route 288. The project is located at the intersection with Lake Road. A few hundred feet north and south of Lake Road, and then a few hundred feet on Lake Road. Here's a more detailed view of the project location from Google Earth. You can see here the runway from the Zelienople Airport, Lake Road heading east-west, and State Route 288. Some information about the project, general overview. The job itself is a realignment of State Route 288 as well as Lake Road adjacent to the airport. The reason for this project is to modernize and upgrade the runway 17 at the airport. FAA requires additional clearance to maintain nighttime operations, so that's kind of the genesis of all this work. The project is being funded as a part of a multimodal transportation funding grant that the airport previously received. On State Route 288, we're going to be realigning about 1,700 feet of highway. Right now, there's a existing reverse curve condition, which is basically to say the road's fairly windy in this section. The new roadway is going to drop down as much as 50 feet in some places, which we'll come back to that. State Route 1010, also known as Lake Road, we're going to be realigning about 1,200 feet of roadway, and this road is going to be slightly straightened as well as widened from 9-foot lanes to 10-foot lanes. Additionally, the intersection of State Route 288 and Lake Road is going to be realigned. Right now, the intersection is on a curve, and the final alignment intersection will be tangent, which will be more perpendicular to allow for better sight distance for drivers to make it a little bit safer through that intersection. A little bit of the advanced work. I'm sure you've seen some work being done in the area previously, both on the airport property and in the right-of-way next to the roadway, to try and reduce costs and aid in the project schedule. Some of the excavation work required for this project was completed ahead of time without impacting traffic. Many utility relocations have already been completed to date in an effort to help the project schedule and shorten the detour length. Unfortunately, due to the depth and location of the excavation, which you'll see on the next slide, a full road closure is required to complete this work. There's no other way to do a phased project as many jobs are performed nowadays. Some of the utility relocation work is still remaining to be complete. The goal is to keep our schedule of closing the road on July 19th, but some material procurement issues have come up, and there may be a chance of an impact to that date, but we will communicate that if it comes to fruition. So here's another overview of the project. In yellow here, you'll see the new aligned roadways. So existing 288 has this bend in it, which was referenced as the reverse curve condition. It's going to be straightened out through this intersection. Lake Road will also be slightly straightened, but more importantly, widened to allow for easier travel. And the intersection currently is on this curve right here, which makes things a little tricky. The new one will be on a tangent section of the roadway, which will make things more perpendicular and will help the driver see in both directions to navigate the intersection. The blue lines here are the contours for the future grading plan. As you can see, the entire old 288 roadway will be excavated out. As such, there's no way to do this project phased, and it requires a full closure and detour during the time of construction. Getting into the traffic control and detour, some dates here. Notice to proceed, which is a contractual date for us, was July 6th, which was when we started to mobilize and get ready to work on this project. You may have seen some of our equipment starting to move in. Public meeting, which is today, July 12th, to help communicate all this stuff to the local residents. Our intention is to start our full road closure on July 19th. Signs indicating the closure date have already gone up. Detour signs will be installed very shortly here and covered. The day of the detour, July 19th, these signs will be uncovered and the road will be closed and no longer permitted to through traffic through that area. We're permitted 102 calendar days for this detour to complete all of our contract work. That means that the road will be open on or before October 28th, which is 102 days from July 19th. While the road is closed, there'll be 3 detours active, one for State Route 1010 Lake Road, which is up on your screen now, one for State Route 288, and one for State Route 288 for trucks. So the State Route 1010 detour is shown on this map here. It'll involve backtracking on Lake Road over to Route 19, down to 588, onto Hartzel Road, and to Old Furnace Road, back to the other side of the closure. This detour is a total of 9 miles in length. Here is the State Route 288 detour. This detour is for cars only, no oversized or overweight vehicles. This detour involves staying on 588 to Hartzell School Road, turning right onto Old Furnace Road to the other side of the road closure. This detour length is 5.5 miles. Trucks will be prohibited from running this detour route. It's going to be up to the local law enforcement to try and enforce this, which will work with them to try and make it as easy as possible and make sure the signage is very evident for these detours. Once we place them, we understand that some signs can be difficult to see, and we'll do our best to adjust them so that they're as effective as possible. Finally, the truck detour for 288 is much larger in length, or longer in length, to keep the trucks off any posted or weight limited roads. The total detour length is 22 miles and it'll involve continuing to follow State Route 588 onto State Route 65 north towards Elwood City and back onto State Route 288 to the other side of the detour. Quick project schedule is shown on the screen now. As you can see here, what we've already discussed, the roadway is going to be closed to traffic on July 19th. Our intention is to close it in the morning of that day. Once we close the road, we're going to immediately start on the mass excavation to reach the new roadway grades. And shortly after we start our mass excavation, we're going to be drilling and blasting to support our excavation because we're anticipating a lot of rock in the cut. After the earth moving is complete, we're going to start storm sewer installation. That's going to take us into the beginning of September. After that's done, we're going to prepare for the asphalt, grading the roadway, placing the stone subbase. We're going to place the asphalt pavement, and at that point, it's going to be a lot of the roadway accessories, signs, guardrails, striping, things of that nature. Do our punch list and final inspection and have the road open by October 28th. As to project impacts, the main impact is obviously the road closure and detours. Both detours, or all 3 detours will be active the entire time the road's closed, and there will be absolutely no through traffic during that time of the road closure. There are no commercial or private driveways within the work area that we're going to be working around. Drilling and blasting will be utilized on this project, similar to the last phase. We're anticipating it to start late this month or early August. Due to the distance to all structures and other houses in the area, we're anticipating very minimal impact from the drilling and blasting. As far as emergency service providers, EMS, police, and fire, we went ahead and reached out to all the local service providers in the area to inform them of the project and the project dates, as well as invite them to this meeting today. In addition to emergency service providers, we reached out to both school districts to discuss adjustments that are going to be needed to their buses and bus schedules. We've had further discussions to make sure that we leave an area for buses to turn around because their routes will need to be adjusted next to our detour. So we'll do our best to accommodate them to make sure everything runs as smoothly as it can. Like I said, we'll continue to coordinate with the police, with the fire departments, with the EMS, with the school districts throughout the project to make any changes that are within our power to make everything run as smoothly as possible. Just for everyone's comfort, we put together this map that shows all the emergency service providers and the school district locations around the project. They're fairly spread out and symmetric around the job, which is good. Police departments, fire departments, and EMS exist on both sides of the project, and we'll be able to navigate around them utilizing the detours while the roadway is closed. So at this point, we're going to take some questions that we got during the presentation. Before we get into that, I just want to remind everyone that the project webpage is at the PennDOT District 11 website. You can navigate it here. This meeting will be available there. The recording of the meeting will be available after this is complete to review. And if you have any questions that come up after this meeting, you can email us at sr288@indexe.com. It's an email address we set up specifically for this project that comes to the Independence project team to try and help handle any issues that come up during this construction. So the first question we have published here looks like this is more for Dave with the Airport Authority, and these are more airport operation questions during construction. Dave, are you there? I think you're muted, Dave. Well, Dave, seems we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. Dave is muted right now. While he tries to work that out, I can try and answer some of these questions from what we know and our impacts of the airport operations. The airport closure times be the same every day. While we are working, we intend to work from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. at least 5 days a week, and potentially Saturdays if our schedule dictates it, to maintain schedule on the project. The start date of the airport closure will be very soon after we close the road, because our fill material will be going onto the airport property, which will impact runway operations. I do not know the time of the closures on July 19th, or if it's possible for runway 35 departures to be permitted during closures, nor do I know how airport closure times will be communicated. If Dave gets on here.
I think I'm on now, Joe.
There he is. Can you see that question, Dave?
What was the question again? I don't have it up now.
Of it. Will the airport closure times be the same every day, was the first question.
They will be. The airport will be closed from 7 in the morning until 5 at night, 5 days a week.
What is the start date for the airport closure?
The airport closure will be consistent with your dates. So July 19th is where the NOTAM is filed for it to start.
Got it. What are the closure times on July 19th?
7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Is it possible that runway 35 departures can be permitted during closure times?
No.
How will airport closure times be communicated?
Through NOTAMs.
What is the latest that airport closure times be communicated for any given day?
They will be the same every day. So all airmen need to check the NOTAMs for Zelienople Airport and it will be posted. It's posted right now.
Got it. And I think that answers the final question. Is there any chance that closure times will vary, change per day? And at this point, no, it'll be based on the NOTAMs. Is that correct, Dave?
That's correct.
Perfect. Next question here is from Rick. His question, while you're working on the 288 construction, are you also working on the blind turn onto Old Furnace Road heading towards Elwood City? Rick, the answer to that question is no. That intersection is out of our limits of work. As I mentioned before, this project is funded through a grant given to the Zelienople Airport. So our work is limited to the work required to extend their runway. So that is outside our limit of work. Next question, will you have a temporary traffic light at the intersection of 588 and Hartzel School Road? The answer to that is no right now. I'm not particularly familiar with the area to know the style of that intersection. However, it's something that we can monitor in the future. But at this point, there are no plans for a temporary traffic light at that intersection. Next question is, why is airport closed July 19th if work is delayed? At this point, the work is not delayed. There have been some developments that have a potential to, but we're going to do everything in our power to proceed as planned. If anything changes, we will communicate to the public, as well as the airport will revise their closures if need be. Dave, this question, I believe, is for you. I can read this one for you. I do not understand, after all these years, the FAA has determined the runways need lengthened, especially since the airport has stated that their operations are not changing. Who applied for this grant to do this work? There's three parts to this, if you want to answer them as I go, or.
Yeah, probably so, because it's kind of complex. Read me the first phrase again. First question.
Who applied for this grant to do this work?
Zelienople Airport applied for the grant to do the work. The FAA dictated the work that needed to be done to remove the obstructions. Route 288 is an obstruction to airspace. It has nothing to do with the lengthening of the runway. The length of the runway is being adjusted by 62 feet. That's all.
How much was the grant?
$3 million in total.
What about the work to the wetlands? How was that legit?
How is it what?
How was that legit?
Legit?
That's the question.
The wetland work is being provided by the airport for replacement wetlands from all the strip mine carnage that's at the end of the runway.
I think that answers the next part of this as well, asking about the displacement of the wildlife. And I know that that was a question that was asked during the design phase of this project, and Widmer Engineering performed the engineering and permitting on the runways at the wetlands and the area impacted at the end of the runway, and the wetland mitigation that's going to be performed to restore additional area on completion. And then the last part of the question is, who approved this?
Who approved what?
I suppose the project as a whole, or different aspects of it.
Well, it's gone through various phases of DEP, Corps of Engineers, Bureau of Aviation, FAA, local, municipalities, stormwater, etc.
Got it. Thank you, Dave. Next question is from Rick again. Will the police presence increase on Old Furnace Road during the detour? I can't answer that personally, Rick, but it very well may. I had conversations with the chief of Franklin Township Police when I was on site before, explaining what we were doing on the project, explaining the detour. So I'm sure they intend to ratchet up enforcement on that roadway to keep trucks off the road, also dangerous or speeding drivers held responsible. Is it possible to have maintenance on the road? Brush and grass alongside the road is currently blocking turns, and since this is a detour and people are not familiar, this may be beneficial for the safety of the drivers and homeowners on Old Furnace Road. Heather Elwood could probably speak to more of that, but I do know that Beaver County Maintenance has already been in discussions on doing a couple tree trimming operations in the area. I don't know if you have anything else to add on that, Heather.
No, but I can contact the county manager and see what can be done and meet up with him and do a field view out there to see if anything needs done.
Great. Thanks for your question, Rick. As far as the wetland work, who approved it? Typically, any impacts to the wetland in the state of Pennsylvania needs to be approved by the Pennsylvania DEP and the local conservation district, which is based in each county. In this case, it would be the Beaver County Conservation District. Wetlands, depending on the extent and type of their impact, can be removed. Typically, they need to be replaced, which is what's going to happen in this case. New wetlands going to be built adjacent to the airport. Dave, correct me if I'm wrong in any aspects of that. That's just generally how those permits work.
That's correct, and that's what's underway right now.
Will the airport be closed if work is scheduled on Saturday as mentioned? How will this be communicated? Dave, we can answer this question in conjunction. From the Independence Excavating side, our goal is to not work Saturdays unless necessary. Adverse weather during the week or unforeseen issues in construction would mandate work on Saturdays to maintain the schedule. We're in constant communication with Dave, so we would communicate to him as early as possible if we intend to work on a Saturday. Dave, I guess you can answer how that would work.
Right. If that should occur, all the based aircraft will be notified via emails as well as NOTAMs, but NOTAMs will be posted under PJC's airport for all transient aircraft as well as local aircraft.
I apologize. I skipped this answer to the airport closure originally. Coming back to that. Question about beaver dams. I'm not familiar with the existence of any beaver dams or their removal in the area and whether or not they are protected.
They are protected. There were a couple of old beaver dams. The Fish and Boat Commission were out there and observed all that, and before they were removed, the old dams. So the game warden was there to inspect them.
got it. A follow-up question on the wetlands answer. Many wildlife species in the area and quite a few that are endangered. Can you elaborate on the monitoring of what is currently happening with the species involved? I guess I'm not involved with that portion of the project. My job is to build the road, which there are no wetlands or endangered species impacted. Again, the PADEP heavily regulates and monitors all of this work. There are clearances you need to get prior to disturbances of this type. Make sure there's no endangered species or protected species in the area of work. I'm sure to get the permit for the work that is required in the airport, these checks were completed to the satisfaction of the PADEP. Dave, again, if you have anything to add, please go ahead.
No, that's correct. All the clearances were acquired previous to the permit being issued.
Question from Chief Harkins. Will the township be reimbursed for extra police officers that are needed to assure large truck traffic does not try to use the car detour? Heather or Elwood, this would be a question for PennDOT.
Joe, typically the department pays off-duty uniformed police directly in the construction area. Enforcement of a detour route is typically left to the local municipality because of their ability to write tickets. Typically, we do not reimburse the municipality to enforce the detour route.
Understood. Thank you, Elwood. Another question from Rick. Will detour maps be available at Franklin Township Municipal Building or online? We did not have plans for that, but that's not a bad idea. I can share the detour maps that were included in my presentation today with the local municipalities that are affected and post them on the PennDOT District 11 webpage afterwards. Why specifically does the airport have to be closed during the work? The reason for the closure of the airport during the work is, like I said, we will be placing the excavated material from the roadway cut onto the airport. So our equipment will be running across the runway to make the fills required for the new runway. So because of that, our equipment is going to be an interference to air traffic and the airport will be closed during work. Dave, do you have anything to add to that?
No, that's exactly correct. You're not allowed to have open runway when there's anything moving or obstructing the safety area of the runway, which obviously your equipment will be in the safety area during construction all day long. Thank
you. Next question, could it be the wetlands work was done to limit or eliminate flooding to the runways? I do not know the answer to that question. It does not seem likely based on the grading plan that I've seen for the airport, but Dave, you could answer that question. Was the wetlands work done to limit or eliminate flooding to the runways? No, but what has happened is the backwaters have been radically increased in size. One stream channel went from probably, I don't know what the original was, maybe 20, 25 feet wide to 60 feet wide. But it has nothing to do with the flooding on the runway, no. Thank you. Next question, will Independence consider opening the road early to traffic should the work go quicker than expected? Absolutely. We want to get the project done as quickly as possible, both for our benefit and the traveling public's benefit. If we do manage to complete the work quicker than the 102 days allotted, we will open the traffic as soon as the road is complete, ready, and safe. All right, I think we're out of new questions here. Let me just pick through this list and make sure I didn't miss any, because I did miss one earlier. Detour maps. What is the maximum size of aircraft allowable on the new runway? I do not know the answer to that. Dave, do you know?
There's really no changes to aircraft that presently operate. The purpose of this is safety related, has nothing to do with size of airplanes. The road, like I said earlier, is an obstruction to airspace, and that's really the whole purpose of the project.
Got it. Another questions from Chief Harkins. Will there be an emergency vehicle access road through the work area? To begin the project, the answer will most likely be no. Due to mainly there's going to be a rapidly changing environment out there with the amount of dirt we are aiming to move each shift. It's going to be constantly changing, and driving through the area when we're not working, which is typically at night, is going to be very treacherous. After that, we're going to be moving into storm sewer operations. So there's a chance for an open ditch, which is also going to present a hazard. But we can meet, like I said before, on site with our superintendent, Tony Smith, to discuss if this is something that we can accommodate. Does Independence use any local labor? Yes, we use all local labor. We are members of the CAWP, which is the bargaining group for contractors for the local unions, specifically Operators Union Local 66 and Heavy Highway Laborers Union Local 1058. All of our subcontractors are also union subcontractors that utilize local labor. Someone posted another question about the Beaver Dams, that they hunt the area all the time and they are only 2 years old. Again, I'm not familiar with the area.
There may be beaver dams back in the Connoquenessing Creek that aren't even affected that I'm not aware of, but the dam or two dams that I spoke about earlier were inspected by the Game Commission. And if there's other ones, I know there are other ones back there on the backwaters, and they're unaffected.
Got it. Another question about the wetlands have changed. Doesn't that force more water into the creek? Again, based on the questions and answers I've seen by the design engineer during the design phase, there was a waterway study performed based on the planned impacts to the creek and adjacent wetlands. The project was designed to not create any additional flow downstream of the job. They are expanding new wetlands to replace any impacted. Again, Dave, please correct me if I'm wrong or missed anything.
No, you didn't miss anything, and that's absolutely correct. The new wetland will actually add to the capacity of holding back water. So there's no new water that's added to the creek.
Back to the Beaver Dams, the ones that are gone were new. I guess that's beyond the scope of what Independence is asked to perform on this project. It's a part of the airport project, but I can say from my experience, the DEP, the Fish and Boat Commission, doesn't take these things lightly, and we have to coordinate every step of the process, from pre-planning to permitting to design to construction, to make sure that we're following their rules. Is there public info available from the Game Commission and DEP regarding their area studies? I do not know the answer to that question. Typically, permits are shared between the applicant and the department, but they might be public records. I don't know if you know, Dave or Heather or Elwood.
I don't know.
Joe, I'm sorry, could you repeat the last part of that question?
Is there public information available from the Game Commission and DEP regarding their area studies? So I think that's in reference to what I mentioned previously about native species and endangered species clearances required for permits.
I am not aware of any. However, we could ask the designer and our environmental unit.
Give it another minute or so here to see if any other questions roll in. I don't want to miss anyone. In the meantime, I appreciate everyone taking the time out of their evening to listen to our presentation on this project. Personally excited to get started and hope to deliver a safe, on-time project for everyone that travels this road. We appreciate that we are visitors in your neighborhood, and we do our best to do a good job and minimize our impacts. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us this evening. As I mentioned, the recording will be available on PennDOT's website afterwards. So if anyone that you know was questioning what's going on and they missed it, point them in that direction to watch the video. Thanks again for coming out tonight, and we look forward to getting started. Thank you. Quick question at the end. When will the video be available on the project website? Our goal would be tomorrow or the day after, I would say. I think we can download it shortly after this meeting. I'll share with PennDOT for them to post on their website. So I would say ideally by the end of business tomorrow, but it might be sometime Wednesday. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.
See you later, Joe.